Check, check. All right, we're all set, guys. Thanks for joining me for today's live stream. Um, we have, I think, a lot to look forward to in the next couple weeks here. BTC is really at a make or break spot for me personally, and like what I think is pretty surprising is we like just going on to this 30-minute time frame here, and then let's go ahead and like draw this out. Actually, let's do this first. Before we get into the lower time frames, we'll do what we always do. Let's zoom out, take a step back. I'm gonna go ahead and hide the last week's Monday range, and I just want to remind everybody of where we're at on the chart. Okay, so for me, this is sort of my higher time frame perspective. This trend line is really, really key here, and this last summer, one scenario that I was really looking for, and I talked a lot about this in the last stream here, but this is a pretty interesting thing, is that we sort of had this 1, 2, 3, 4, complex 4, 5. So this is a possible 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sort of ending here, and that doesn't mean that the high necessarily has to be in. We can certainly sweep it one more time or see something like that, which for me would be an incredible rejection, right? So if we were to sweep sort of this last high here and get some kind of a rejection, previous week high here, and get a rejection from that, maybe sweep it or deviate it, now that to me would be a confirmation that likely the high is in. Because if we do break above this level, guys, price should really climb. I mean, it should really start to accelerate towards the upside. Typically when you get these sort of pumps, okay, like the last thing that it wants to do is to give people a back test for them to look to long. That would be a proper thing to happen, right? That would look really good on the chart. It would create proper market structure and it would look great on the chart. But the idea is that you would want to make people sidelined by not really going lower or back testing where you think you should, and instead just sort of continuing the grind. Now on the other hand, if we just simply sweep and continue to reject from this zone, then in my opinion, yeah, that's a clear sign that we're going to be looking down into this zone here, in which case we can look for some kind of a back test in a long position. So zooming out, the one thing that I was really looking for that I thought would be a really nice setup that would really mess with people, in my opinion, would be to deviate back into the range. Okay, we have this macro range here. We can see support, support, resistance, resistance, deviate, and then get a move down to sweep these equal lows is my general plan right now. Now, there are some very clear invalidations with that. Okay, like I said, if we sweep the high and reject and continue to hold this zone as resistance, great. This looks really good. This deviation play looks even better than it does now. On the other hand, if we break up above there and we get some really nice closes on a higher time frame, at very minimum hourly, then 4 hour, then 6, 12, daily, ideally daily closures above the zone, then yeah, it's time to reevaluate, and we can possibly look higher. So right now, that's really the thing I want to emphasize with you guys, is how important this zone is for BTC in order to determine if we're going to be bullish or bearish going into the next month. And typically November, and this is again something that I covered, if we just go ahead and look at previous months here, go ahead and mark out the November months. November, 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 November. Okay, and then this will be the next one here. Now, what do you notice? What do you notice from all of this is, well, 1, 2, 3, 4 bearish Novembers. Okay, we had one bullish November, and that was during the bull market, right, where we saw an incredible ascent of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight months of up only. So the odds are in favor for the Bears here, in my opinion. And if you look at the month prior, I know this one is kind of a goofy closure, but bullish October, right? Bullish October, bullish October, bullish October, bullish October, followed by then a bearish November. So yeah, I I think it's important that we really look to the monthly close and sort of wait till thereafter to really get a good setup on a trade. But again, I do think this overall is going to end up favoring the bears going into November, unless, of course, we have one of these scenarios that we just begin, this incredible ascent towards our previous highs, right? And of course, every cycle is different, so we just sort of have to play it day by day and kind of go from there. So here's my thing, though. If we go down to a lower time frame, like just something I want to point out to you guys that I think is really interesting. If we're so damn bullish, okay, like I mean, everybody is just like, let's rip, everyone wants to go to like new highs and do all this crazy whatever. Okay. Here's my issue with that. The one thing I want to point out to you guys that I have a problem with, and I'll show you here. Okay. So we have this nice fixed range volume pull. We have this really nice Monday high here. Go down to a 30-minute time frame. We can see that like this area is still very much acting as resistance, right? Okay, resistance, resistance, resistance. We had a very clear rejection here, and we can see we're sort of back testing that pullback. This is a pretty bearish 30-minute closure prior. I'm not going to place too much weight on one single 30-minute candle, but that was one heck of a rejection there to close back below the value area high. So it's just, and of course we want to continue to wait for like some higher time frame closures, look to the 1 hour here, and then of course on to like the 4 hour, but we can just see that this area is still acting as resistance. And if we're so damn bullish, in my opinion, I don't think we should really be spending a whole lot of time rejecting from this zone. If we are going to continue to ascend, I mean, ideally today, I mean, right now, ideally, like right now, I would love to see this hourly close here and just continue to climb. Like, why stop? Why would we stop and reject here if we are really all that bullish and we should just continue to climb? At this point, I think that, we're on to a new week here. We've certainly had some lows taken out here. Delta is virtually neutral at this time. Funding rates are pretty positive, but it doesn't necessarily matter. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't have to really be that big of a deal. So yeah, if we are going to be really bullish and we are going to do it, let's do it. I don't, why would we continue to reject, this? So like this right here looks good for me. Like I like what I'm seeing with this bullish hammer on this 15-minute time frame. We came all the way down here and bulls managed to recover the candle at the very least up to this point. So this is the kind of stuff that you want to see, right? I don't, if we're going to do it, let's do it. That's my whole point. So, all right, I'll go ahead and update our charts and we'll go ahead and look at some analysis and see what we can put together for the upcoming week here, as well as the upcoming month of November. Go ahead and clean some of this stuff up. Got so much going on in my charts here. Yeah. BTC is looking good. Alt's not so much. I will tell you that. If you're going to be shorting anything coming up here, you should be shorting alts, not BTC, in my opinion, at this point. Until, of course, BTC gives us a proper setup. All right, cool. So let's just go to like a 4 hour. I'm going to do a little cleaning up on my chart here. Don't know what a lot of this is. Could this be a crab? Don't really love it. Okay. All right, we'll get rid of this. I'm going to mark out our new levels. Let's see here. Monthly time frame. We aren't going to have a new monthly. Okay. So we just have the one down here that we already have marked. Interesting. Okay, so weekly, we have a weekly at 27. Do I have that marked out on the chart? Let's take a look here. Yep, we got that marked out. There is not going to be a new weekly. Okay, let's go to a daily time frame. There's a daily here. I'm not going to place a whole lot of weight on that daily. There's really not a whole. Okay. Let's go ahead and mark our previous week levels, which I think are going to be really, really important this week. I can't emphasize enough, if you do not typically mark those out, you're definitely going to want to mark these levels out this week for the previous week levels. So our weekly open. Weekly open is here. Previous week high. Previous week low. Let's go down to a 4-hour. Yeah, so that zone is still acting as resistance. Let's take a look at that once, actually. Let's just pop back over to our other chart. Yeah, here we go. Look at this. 30-minute time frame. We're coming back down below that previous week Monday high and rejecting from that level despite, wicking up there. Not really what you want to see if you're thinking we're going to rip to super high, right? I mean, why would price mess around here and continue to range if we're so bullish, okay? Not buying it. I don't like it at all. And we can talk about the couple short positions that I've taken on alts. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Okay. All right, cool. So back to our primary chart here we'll be charting on. So we have a previous week low down here. I think that this is a really, 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 really important level. This is a really important zone, this previous week low, to be looking to hold that area if we are going to remain bullish. A couple different setups that we can look for. Again, like right now, I think that we may actually have a short opportunity on BTC. I'm typically a little hesitant on taking shorts, or I'm typically hesitant on being positioned at all prior to Monday's range forming, but we don't always have to wait for it, right? There are exceptions, but there are other reasons why I'm a little bit hesitant on positioning myself here, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we continue to do our analysis. So of course, this is the Bybit chart. The previous week high is a little bit different on Binance. It's actually at 35,300. So I'm actually going to, I know this is a little odd, but I'm actually going to adjust this as this being the previous week high, because technically this is where, actually, I'm sorry, it's this one here. This is technically where Binance put in its previous week high right here. This was a random wick from Bybit. So I'm actually going to mark it here because we're doing the primary analysis on the Bybit chart, which is where I have all of my stuff, where I've been charting for many years on this single chart here. But I'm not really liking that wick, and I don't want to use it as my reference. I think that, one thing we can definitely look for right now is especially, so this is kind of like what I've been looking at. The reason why I am like not super, again, we're rejecting from the zone. I think that these multiple rejections here signal like a great opportunity to, be short from this zone, looking to at least target the value area low here. Acceptance below the weekly open, to me, would signal that we're good for a move down into this zone for at least a take profit one. So that's how I would look at that. So when again, we've just been range bound for the last several videos I've put out. So if we keep in mind that I'm looking for that deviation, that means that overall I'm generally bearish, okay? Now, there are certain things that would invalidate that, which we talked about. I would want a very clear close above this level, okay, with immediate continuation. If we were to sweep the level and break down, that's more confirmation that this is a divergence. Now, we might not even take that high, which I think would be really, really odd. I think that there's a clear sign of rejection here, although I'm like a little bit Again, I'm a little bit hesitant to just drop a short position in here, but if you got decent RR and you're willing to take the risk, I don't see why that this isn't a proper short trade where we look for confirmation with a close below weekly open and we simply range trade it. So back down to here, and then we look at maybe coming back up after that, right? We're not looking for an incredible big move breakdown, all right? So again, that's my overall look at BTC and my perspective on it. Not a whole lot has changed, and again, we can continue to update this as we move on throughout the week here, okay? And because of how important this week is, I'll be sure to do another market update. So one thing I want to look at, I'm going to go ahead and clear off my screen here so you guys can see this. Okay. So there's a couple, wow, that's really bright. So there's a couple different reasons why I'm somewhat hesitant on like getting too crazy with a short right here. And one of those primarily being is that Delta is generally neutral on BTC right now. Okay, so throughout that range, things sort of settled and became, you know, neutral on the chart. Now that said, if we go ahead and take a look at our heat map, that tells a little bit of a different story on BTC. We'll go ahead and look at the last 7 days of liquidity here, and we can see that the primary spot of liquidity is about 30,750. Okay, there really isn't a whole lot above us. It's primarily lower is the hot spot. If we go ahead and look at the last month, the primary hot spot again, 26K, 27K. Okay, we look back 3 months. And the hot spot is that 23,600 zone that we've kind of been talking about and looking at for a very long time. If you're looking back in the 3-month range, there's little to no liquidity in this area in comparison to down here, right? So that's just something to you know, keep in mind, where I'm looking at this chart here and saying, okay, locally, it's anybody's game. Locally, it's anybody's game. There's no reason why we couldn't have continuation higher. For as far as I'm concerned, Delta is reset. We're not overextended in the current time frame that we're trading in right now, going back to about the 26th of October. That said, if we're looking back further, if we're looking back over a week, a month, or 3 months time, it makes a little bit more sense, you know, to be looking for lower targets. And I'm not saying we have to go straight to 23K, but in my opinion, we would be looking at more of a local top for this zone, is my point. Okay. Now that said, I think that there's times where, you know, Delta can be something that's a little bit misleading, in the sense that, you know, because Delta is reset, everybody thinks that we can start longing again, which you can see here by looking at the funding rates. Very, very, you know, relatively positive funding rates here. People are heavily longing BTC, ETH, Sol, not as much, because it looks like we got that pretty nice pump to the upside, link somewhat here. But you can see that the market is generally, you know, more bullish and looking for those long positions. So it could be something like a trap that people are thinking, oh, Delta's virtually neutral, it's probably time to go a little bit higher. But they forget that all of that liquidity didn't just disappear, right? All of the liquidity that's down here, even though it's not represented on the high block Delta chart, the liquidity that's down in this below here didn't disappear. It's still sitting there, and it's still up for grabs, which we've seen on the heat map. Okay. So I think with, you know, the proper confirmation, if we do get this hourly close down here, I don't see any reason why, you know, we can open up a short position and look to kind of trade it down to this value area low here. Again, not really thrilled about taking a trade on a Monday. Delta is neutral still. So again, there are reasons to think that it's possible that we would get this move up. But we're just still rejecting from these levels, guys. And if we're so bullish and Bitcoin is so bullish, why would we keep rejecting from this zone, right? Why wouldn't we get this closure and just have great, you know, incredible continuation to the upside? So that's sort of my perspective on BTC right now. We can take a very brief look at just like a couple alts, and then if you guys do have any questions, I don't know what's going on here. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to ask in the YouTube chat here, and I'll do my best to answer them. And then we're going on at about 24 minutes. I would really like to keep this under 30, so we'll just spend the next 5 to 6 minutes here taking a look at some of the alts that I've positioned in. I did short ETH this morning, and I'm looking again just to do sort of a range trade on that. I think my average entry is about here at the 618, and I'm ultimately targeting the low here, so a nice 2.19 risk to reward ratio. For confirmation, I want to see closure and acceptance back below the value area high here. If we get something like that, I might be a little bit more eager to open more of a short and then move my stop lower. But right now, this is kind of the positioning that I'm taking. Again, I can see a reason for higher. Same thing with ETH. There is relatively positive delta, but all of the liquidity is generally lower. So just something to keep in mind, but nonetheless, I'm willing to take the risk. I'm willing to look at the position. Link, I shared this one in the Discord because it's a little bit more of a high conviction trade for me, meaning like I really feel good about this one. There's a little bit less of a question. Okay, so this is the previous week high right here at about 11.788. And we did get a sweep of the previous week high, which is the setup that I was talking about with BTC that I wanted to see. And we did get a closure back below. I mean, this was a pretty big rejection here. And we're sort of back testing the value area high zone right here. And again, rejecting from it. So for me, this is a really, really easy short to take. My average entry is around the value area here. And I'm looking to trade that down. You know, I would like to kind of get back into this channel and sort of trade it into the lower bounds of the channel here. There's a really big hotspot of liquidity on the heat map at around 1016 down here. I'm not going to try to trade it down that far. That's not really my objective. For me, I'm just looking to trade it, you know, sort of back down to this value area low at the very least, taking profit around the point of control as well as the top of the channel here. So that's kind of my positioning with Link, and I really like this one. Again, I posted this one in the Discord this morning when we were pumping up on it. I do really like how that one looks. And, you know, like I said, I mean, generally speaking, if you're going to be shorting, I think that you know, altcoins are sort of the better route to be shorting at this time. Just simply because if we take a look at BTCD, you know, you can see that overall Bitcoin dominance is very, very, very much trending towards the upside. And for me, I don't think that we see a clear rejection until about this, you know, monthly level here that we straight up fell through this monthly level. I don't see any reason why it doesn't make sense for us to come back to this level and have at least some kind of a small rejection from that zone. So yeah, you know, I'm looking towards around that 60% mark for me to start thinking, okay, yeah, I probably want to start looking to long some alts instead of shorting them in relative to BTC. Okay. So just a very brief couple quick questions, and we'll go ahead and wrap this up. So one question being, what is an SFP? An SFP is a swing failure pattern. I actually have a tutorial on this on my website. If you go ahead and click the link tree in the YouTube video chat here, if you click that link tree and hit tutorials, you'll find it's one of my most popular ones. It has probably the most views of any of my other tutorials. It's how to trade swing failure patterns. And it'll tell you all about it there. I highly recommend watching that as well as my other tutorial videos. If BTC goes above this point, will ETH follow it? So that's kind of the point that I'm trying to get at here is that that's the question. If BTC goes above from this point, will ETH follow it? Yeah, I think we would see ETH trend higher, but I don't think it would be as strong as BTC. If BTC does get a move up, I think that all eyes are on BTC. So if Bitcoin gets that move to the upside, I think it's definitely going to trend harder and have a stronger move than Ethereum would. Okay, would Ethereum pump? Yeah, sure. I'm sure it would go up, but I don't think that it would. You know, it wouldn't have quite the strength that BTC would show, and that's exactly why I'm saying I think it's a little bit better that we look to short altcoins more than anything. And I mean, look at the ETH chart. Let me show you guys. So this is ETH versus BTC. Okay, so what this chart represents is how strong ETH is against Bitcoin. And you know, since basically September, what has it been doing? Well, it's been trending lower, making lower lows and lower highs since September of 2022. So for literally a year, it's just been trending down against BTC, right? It's been weak. right? It's weak against Bitcoin is what we're seeing. So again, if BTC does pump, who's to say maybe this trends down a little bit more? It could be targeting this low. We could be, looking to get down to about this zone, which means we have a little bit more room to the downside. And yeah, so generally speaking, like, does ETH have to follow? No. Could it? Yes. Will it be as strong? Probably not. And that's my opinion. Hey, thanks for saying that. Yeah, best video on swing failure and naked point of control on YouTube. I appreciate that. I'm glad you find it useful. All right, very last thing. I normally wouldn't want to do this, but we'll just for 1 second take a look at XRP. Potential SFP on XRP. Yeah, I don't really see any reason to want to short XRP right now. This is the previous week high right here, Henry. It was the one that asked about this. This is the previous week high right here. So if we go down to an hourly time frame, what you're going to want to see is if you're going to take the previous week setup trade, you're going to want to see a sweep and then a clear rejection for an entry to look for a move down, or some degree of a deviation play on the previous week high. Otherwise, if you get a clear, strong close above and continuation, the setup isn't there, and instead you're probably going to want to look. I guess I have a nice channel here. You're probably just going to want to look to the top of the channel to maybe take a position up here. But again, I don't really do a lot of analysis on XRP. It was a really quick and easy question. Was there going to be a potential swing failure pattern coming in on XRP? It's possible, and I guess that's sort of my answer for you. Is if, again, like I said, this is the previous week high right here at about 58 cents. You're going to want to see a sweep of the high and a clear rejection, or some kind of like a deviation play where price trades up above here but doesn't break and then falls, back tests. That's your trigger for a short, and that's kind of, the setup that you're going to want to be looking for. So, okay, cool. Well, this is really great. I think that we saw a lot of really cool price action on BTC during the stream today that was really relevant to like a lot about what I wanted to talk about. Everyone's just so damn bullish, guys. And here's the deal. When you're super bullish, yeah, you want people to get sidelined. You want price to keep pumping. You don't want to keep rejecting this level. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're straight up range trading, which it's fine to put in some kind of a range here, right? Put in some kind of a range for a while here. That makes total sense. But we don't want to keep rejecting this level. Price should be breaking to the upside. We want to seek strength and continuation. And if that's going to happen, it definitely has to be this week. So yeah, I'm gonna take this position here. I think I'm gonna just risk this short here. I am short again, like I talked about, ETH right here, looking to trade that down just to the value area low on the point of control zone. I'm in a short position on Link, which I already shared in the Discord, which is looking really, really good right now. Yeah, and again, like I really like my deviation play from higher time frames. If there's going to be a time to really trap people and screw people up, this would be the zone. I do not use that indicator that you're asking about. I don't use that one. There are members in the group that do, and they really love it. I'm personally not a really big indicator guy. Henry, my guy, thank you. I really appreciate you. Thanks everyone for joining. This is awesome. I love doing these streams. We'll have our I might do a market update video in the middle of the week after the monthly close, just to kind of keep everybody updated and stuff. And then we'll of course have our office hours on Friday, 9 a.m. CST, where we'll go ahead and review stuff too. Those the office hours have been my absolute favorite, and I think probably like easily the most educational and best experience for me and also the members in the group. Lastly, of course, like shout out to Bicket. Thank you. Love everything that you sent me. They sent me like a cigar box and cocktail glasses all decked out with Bicket on them, and hoodies and jerseys and stuff. So we're going to be giving away some of that stuff too in the future. I got like a really cool, a couple really cool things I'd like to share with you guys. We are going to do a tournament again, just like a local tournament for us in the future. I know the team one we did recently didn't really work out. I had a lot of personal stuff going on, and it was our first one, so we really learned a lot from it. And I think that when we loop back around for the next one, we'll be so much more prepared and kind of knowing what to do to create a better experience for you guys. So as always, thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you guys in the Discord. If you have any questions, do feel free to ask.